BASX Solutions was founded in 2012 by Matt Tobolsky and Dave Benson. The Redmond-based company is an industry leader in the manufacturing of high-efficiency data center cooling solutions, clean room systems, custom HVAC systems, and modular solutions. The BASX leadership team has been recognized as innovators in the industry, creating new cooling systems for clients that include some of Silicon Valley's largest tech companies. The company recently added 75,000 square feet of manufacturing and a 15,000 square foot main office complex to their Redmond headquarters. The 200,000 square foot facility employs over 525 people and continues to be the fastest growing manufacturer in Central Oregon. Welcome, Matt and Dave. Where are you, my friends?
Right. Cheat sheet. Making sure this works. Y'all hear me? Yeah. Perfect. All right. So thanks for the intro, because we normally like to start off every presentation with, does anyone actually know what the hell we do at BASX, aside from being the old Walmart building in the north side? So
we could start out with the pronunciation.
It's BASX. Yeah. It is what we get for drinking in Las Vegas while naming the company. So, exactly. So, as mentioned, we manufacture custom HVAC solutions, primarily serving data center markets, clean room markets, really high value facilities is kind of where we shine as a company. It's process cooling, so it's getting rid of heat that data centers create. It's providing cool, clean environments for semiconductor manufacturing, and really doing it at scale. So, you drive by that building, 200,000 square feet. The vast majority of our product is the size of this room. So it's not your residential air conditioning systems, very large scale, custom engineered products. But kind of rewinding the history, people always ask, how do we get into this industry? Myself, I'm actually a structural engineer by training, making HVAC equipment. So not the normal career path they talk about in college. Way back in time, way back. I think before I was born.
Way before you were.
Before I was born.
Way before.
It was a while ago. I'm surprised he remembers. He's really bad at dates. So Dave started his career in the HVAC market, actually facility side with Intel as a facilities engineer. And I can let you tell your story better than I can tell your story, but kind of his history brought him through the HVAC industry into the manufacturing world.
Good enough.
Good enough. All right. Dave started and sold a couple of companies. His last start and exit was back in 2007, HVAC manufacturing company over in Tualatin, and there's some folks in the room that actually worked with Dave through that journey. So a lot of people have been with Dave for a very long time in the HVAC world.
And then I moved from Portland to Sisters.
That's right. The wise choice. Myself, I had a PhD in structural engineering down in San Diego, started a consulting firm focused on doing high-end consulting for high-value facilities, so nuclear power, nuclear weapons, hospitals, and heavy industrial facilities. Through that, we were doing consulting with Dave's former company while David stayed on as the president. He and I got to be pretty good friends, very similar business mind, and kind of post-sale of his last company in 2007, kind of each iteration of ownership, it changed hands a few times while he was there, became more and more corporate and less about delivering on your promises to your customers. And in our industry, that was a relatively recurring theme. A lot of companies were bought up by bigger organizations, consolidated, and a lot of the flair that made these companies great was slowly kind of killed in the process. So while having a lunch with one of Dave's associates that started at 11:30, ended at 6 p.m., trying to make it to the elevator, it came out that Dave was ready to retire. And so I pinged Dave and I said, Dave, you're far too young to retire. You got at least one more lap in you. Let's do something new. And those of you that know Dave knows his favorite word is fantastic. So the response back via text was fantastic, exclamation point. That was December. 2 months later, we're in Napa strategizing our plan, drinking. And kind of working through the plan, but that was really how we started. And the whole thing was really getting back to, in the name, is getting back to the basics. Good businesses are built on people, and they're built on serving people. And that was lost in so many of the iterations of HVAC companies in our industry, that getting back to that fundamental was really at the core of what we started as a company. And so as we started this company, we celebrated, we drank, and then we said, shit, what are we going to do? And we talked that the beginning of BASX was literally fishing with as many lines in the water, with as many different setups as you had, to try to figure out what would bite. We knew we were going to be in the HVAC market. We bought this, at the time, 110,000 square foot building in Redmond that we never thought we were going to fill up. And we just basically said, well, let's see what's going to hit. And so we went out there, and everyone we knew, we kind of got in touch with. We had some great relationships between Dave, very long career, very long career, and our connections in the HVAC market, and really just went out there and said, hey, what do we have as options? And slowly we kind of saw what bit, we saw what worked, what didn't. For those of you that have been in that Walmart building when it was a Walmart, it used to have a 14-foot drop ceiling, which when we bought the building, we were convinced we never had to worry about because we're going to build small things. Fast forward 6 months after we moved into that building, and we have employees removing ceiling tiles and walking between the ceiling grid to build units. Safely. And so as we move forward, we kept removing more and more of the ceiling, growing. Next thing you know, fast forward 12 months, and that building was full. And so it was really a testament to figuring out what worked, what didn't. Those of you that were there very early on know that we tripped over our feet many times through that process. But really the team was just focused on delivering great product. So when we made a mistake, we went out there, we fixed it, we moved on. But with that, we definitely figured out what was our kind of sweet spot, and that was data centers. They were blowing up, and really kind of high-end facilities. It was really focused on providing cooling solutions to owners that really valued efficiency and long-term investment. So they didn't want to buy the piece of crap that was the cheapest value or cheapest first cost, but we're focused on what provides the best value long-term. And that's where our engineering team really focuses our efforts. It's providing a true high-efficiency product that provides you the best long-term value. So here we are, we have a building all full, we're excited, it's great, we have great sales, and then we keep realizing that, man, we have things that keep getting in our way as an organization. We started off and we basically relied on a lot of outsourced vendors. So when we first started, we were relying on sheet metal manufacturing in the local market, powder coating facilities, and a lot of other things providing a lot of the input of the value to our product, which is great, and absolutely amazing partners in the local region. But there's not a lot of them. And when you are a large HVAC manufacturer, you have a very large demand for this support. And we learned very early on that one of the challenges in Central Oregon is it's a really small market. And there's not a lot of industry that's really in this market versus other big cities where you might be able to go out to 5 or 10 vendors to support you. And so we had a lot of ups and downs trying to basically manage that supply chain, manage the overall cost point, because every time you outsource, you're also paying someone else's profit and overhead. And in a very competitive market, all of that adds up and impacts your bottom line and really creates a challenge for making money. So, I have a graphic that I share with some of our leadership team, which is basically evolution of BASX from day one, and it's a graph of kind of cumulative losses of the company. And we literally, you sit there, you go down a little bit during the start, then you think you're doing okay, then you get a lot more volume, then you trip over your feet even more. And you fall down this cliff and you compound your struggles from a profitability standpoint. And so a lot of it was driven by how fast we grew. It was driven by kind of the resources that we had in the local market. We're outsourcing components over the mountain in the middle of winter, trying to ship sheet metal parts that are needing to show up clean and not indented, and we're shipping them over a pass in flatbed trailers. So a lot of challenges in those early years, kind of getting the cost point where it had to be. And so all in, we sat there at the low of it with a very large hole that we dug ourselves with great sales. We were doing well. We had a great top line, but we weren't putting money into our pockets, and we were feeding this animal kind of through the process. And so we sat there and we ran the numbers. We understood where are we at? Where's our cost struggles? And what do we have to do? And the answer was, we had to invest extensively to bring a lot of this stuff in-house. And so picture going to your wife and saying, hey, I know we've basically, so in rewinding, we sold an engineering firm that I had started down in San Diego, took all that money, put it into the manufacturing company. Dave took all the money that he's made over the years, put it in the manufacturing company, just to kind of get us to that point where we're at the bottom of the barrel. And we sat there and we said, hey, the way out of this is to throw more money in it. And going home to your wife and saying, hey, I know we've leveraged the house. I know we've gotten rid of all of our stocks and we've taken all the money from the previous sale. But we just got to put $6 million more in and we're going to get through it. And she looks at me like I'm nuts. And she is definitely thinking we're crazy. And, you picture through that growth cycle, banks don't love dynamic growth companies. They really don't. And, going through that process and having a plan and sitting there at $30 million in revenue, losing $2.5–3 million, banks do not want to support that. And so all of that investment comes down to personal investments, leveraging everything we had, and luckily having a friend and a partner in the business who had much bigger pockets than Dave or I did, who was willing to help kind of support that. And so we said, you know what, this is it. We're all in, we're going for it. But the only way we do it is focusing on, the fundamentals of how to get this cost point right, as well as making sure the right people were on the team. We had people that were fantastic members of the team getting us through that growth stage that were not poised to take us to that next level. We had some amazing talent, and we would not be where we are if it wasn't for those individuals, but they weren't the right individuals to carry us forward to the next level. And so it was a decision that said, hey, we're putting this money in, but we are going to build this team. We're going to focus on exactly who has to be in the seat, on the bus, and basically make those tough decisions to right-size the overall organization. Was not fun, was not a good conversation to have, but from a business standpoint, it's where we had to get this company to profitability. So,
But there were a lot of fantastic people that stayed on the bus.
They're still here. Yeah. No, it's a very valid point. I mean, an amazing, amazing team. And it's a matter of getting some of those people. I mean, one of them in the crowd, Jeff, runs our operations team right now. Jeff had been through the organization, been with Dave for decades, and 3 decades. He's old too. And as we kind of sat there and said to ourselves, hey, how do we get this organization to the right spot? Jeff's a prime example of somebody who was in a good seat, but had a lot of opportunity to put him in the right seat and really allow this organization to excel. And he's done just that in the organization. So, we sat there and we did it. We said, okay, we're throwing $6 million in. We're buying all this equipment, still in the Walmart building, but basically providing a huge amount of in-source capacity, getting a lot of alignment or realignment in the organization. We're in. As soon as we did it, months later, the trajectory changed. I mean, it was one of those ones where once the right equipment was in place, once the right people were in the right positions, the energy in the organization, the culture, and the engagement with the team completely flipped. And we went from sitting there on a downward trajectory to flattening for a second to, holy shit, we're actually in the black. And it took a ton of endurance, a ton of grit from the team that is here, but really getting us to that point. And so here we are, we're like, oh man, it worked. And then we go, oh shit, we need more space. Like, as soon as it worked, it flipped the switch, and we all of a sudden were able to serve more customers at a better price point, more aggressively, and it put everything going in the right direction. So we were like, this old Walmart building with the pieced together kind of capacity. Anyone that's been to our building now, if you ever walk our facility, the new building, and then walk to the original Walmart building and say to yourself, you built everything in there. Like, it's mind-blowing. We had no overhead cranes, and we're building 14-foot tall equipment in an 18-foot tall ceiling, right? I mean, the stuff the team did to make the overall product was amazing, but it was far from efficient. And so as soon as we got that equipment in place, the new automated equipment, we realized that we had to keep going. I mean, this is not done with investment. And so we sat down and we sketched out what it looks like. We brought on some great architects into the team and said, hey, how do we maximize this footprint? So the benefit of buying a Walmart building as a manufacturer is you get 110,000 square feet and 880 parking spots, right? So we had a lot of land. And so we laid out, how can we get every single square foot out of this property to build product? And we laid it out and we figured we could add 75,000 feet of manufacturing, 15,000 square feet of office. Looked great. And we said to ourselves, holy shit, we just started making money. We just put in $6 million. Let's baby steps. So we draw it all out and then we say we're only going to build 40,000 square feet. And so the architects draw it out. We've got phase 1, phase 2, and then phase 3 is the office. And literally we start digging in the ground and I call Steve Butner at SunWest Builders and I said, hey, seriously, build it all. Because there's no way we're going to keep up. That 40,000 square feet is going to be full before we're done. And so we went out and basically went from a $6 million equipment investment to a $15 million building investment literally 1 year later, after the first year we actually made any money in a downward trajectory. So an amazing kind of inertia kind of with all this happening. And every time we put the investments in place, the team was able to basically take that investment and just completely run with it. And so when you go to the factory now, it is ultra efficient. I mean, there's always room for improvement, but the overall operation is an immensely efficient operation once we got the right facility and the right infrastructure in place, and it just keeps going. I mean, if you ask anyone from our ops team right now, they'll tell you we're 100,000 square feet short of space. They do an amazing job delivering what they deliver in that space, but we have definitely continued to sell and deliver every bit of expansion that we make as a company, and it's a testament to the team and their creativity. At this point, Dave and I just like to keep going drinking and watch what the team does because...
No. I go drinking, you keep working.
Yeah, all right. But the reality is, we get in the way of this team at this point. The team is self-sufficient in really reevaluating and pushing this company forward, which is a fantastic thing to see as we look at kind of how we've evolved over the years. But so, we look at that, and obviously the team's a huge piece, but, I can't say enough about the city of Redmond. I moved from San Diego, right? So I joked that when we bought the building in Redmond, we had to get a conditional use permit because technically it's commercial use and we had to get a conditional use permit for light manufacturing. In San Diego, that's about a 12-month to 18-month process. Like, it is dragging through bureaucracy in Southern California. We sit here in the city of Redmond, it's, by law, 30 days. That's the process. The minimum amount of time it can take is 30 days to get through a process. So when we were buying the building, we had a contingency that the conditional use permit had to be approved before we would close. 10 days after we submit, we get a phone call from the bank saying, hey, the city just called letting us know it's taken care of. Wow. And we're like, okay, now I guess we got to close on this funding. But the city of Redmond, Mayor Endicott, now retired, but George was one of the best resources and advocates for business growth in the city. Reddy and EDCO, amazing partners in working things through kind of the government bureaucracy that can come up. But they really spearhead resolving issues proactively and minimizing the impact to the overall organization. Eric Sand from the chamber is the one that basically got Dave here years and years ago, and tried getting Hunt Air, Dave's previous company, here back in the late 90s. Sat there for 20 plus years, continuing to reach out to draw us over here 20 years later. Amazing tenacity. But the local community, the architects, the engineers, the contractors, amazing partners in delivering this project that we've gone through over the years. So, as you imagine, this is a larger project for the city of Redmond in the region, but watching them deliver time and time again and pull out all the hoops. We sat there and delivered 75,000 square feet of manufacturing space on time, on budget, in the middle of the COVID pandemic. An absolute testament to SunWest Builders in sticking with it and fighting through every one of the challenges that we had. We wouldn't be able to be where we are without partners like that delivering results. So fast forward all of that, here we are as this manufacturer that is just skyrocketing, 50+% compounded growth year after year. Someone's going to notice. And so we would always get pinged by various companies that want to buy us, private equity firms, manufacturers, And through that process, one of our big things that we always talked about is we are a people-driven company. And our goal is making sure that whatever we do from a transaction standpoint provides long-term success for the people that allowed us to get here. We could have sold to private equity for more than we sold our company for, but we didn't do it. And we didn't entertain that conversation because that was not what was going to drive the best results for the community and for our team that allowed us to get here. And so when Aon approached us little over 2 years now, they came out and as we started having conversations about what they do, what we do, the great thing was, number one, we didn't compete in the same markets. We were both HVAC manufacturers, but we didn't sell to the same customers, to the same markets, and we didn't build the same product. So it was a good complementary marriage that was going to really allow us to not cannibalize each other in the process. But more than that, they had a very, very great cultural alignment. Their mindset about how you take care of people, how you promote opportunity for your team to grow, succeed, and take care of their families, and really delivering on your promises was a huge piece that aligned with what we believed in. And so as that conversation kind of went down and started to develop, we realized that they were a partner that was going to really be good stewards of the brand, good stewards of the team, and really help facilitate future growth. Early on in the conversation, we talked about valuation and locations and people and teams, and they sat there and they were like, number one, why in the hell would we leave Redmond? Like, you have built a team, you built capacity, like, we are committed as you are to the Central Oregon region. And the team, they were like, why are we going to put people into this organization to oversee what you're doing? You are successful, you're good at what you do. We want to help that team excel even more. And so they were really aligned from that perspective. And so as we went back and forth, and like any good deal, we went down the road, and then we said, screw it, we're not good enough. This deal's not good enough. We pulled the contract once. Then we said, shit, did we just do that? And then everything got re-engaged, and we got a really good deal for our team and ourselves in the overall region, committed to growing this company here. We pulled the trigger. We said, yes, we'll do it. And back in December 21, we made the transaction with Aon. As we look kind of at where they're committed to, we talk about they're not just a company that's focused on the bottom line. They are really, truly focused on the people. And when we look at what this transaction provides for our team, it has been one of the most profound positives that we could have imagined. So, Aon's compensation structure and benefits plans are bar none some of the best we see in the industry for what they do. Very simple one. What company do you know that provides 175% 401k match? Across the board, every employee. Employees get stock awards. Shop floor employees get stock awards after a couple years of the company. So their goal is to have the vast majority of the organization be an equity owner in the company. And those details, they really matter. I mean, when you want to talk about building a passionate team, having a team that's focused, an ownership group that's focused on supporting teams is such a great deal. There are individuals within Aon. So Aon was started in 1988. There's individuals that have been there for almost the entire time, working on the shop floor, that have over $1 million in their 401k. Shop floor employees, not managers, not executives, employees that are out there turning a wrench, building product, and providing value to our customers. And that mindset aligns so well with what we believe as a company and how we take care of our team that gets us where we are, that it's a fantastic win. And really, we're very excited to kind of keep seeing that grow. So, with the investment, with the transaction, BASX continues to grow like crazy. We've almost doubled our employment in 12 months, so 531 employees as of Tuesday. And it's a great thing to see. I mean, new team members, building wealth, having great opportunity to kind of build a future for their families. It's a great thing to see. I will say, Central Oregon does provide its own challenges. I think we can all recognize the cost of living and the cost point of Central Oregon is tough. And it's very difficult from a manufacturing standpoint when we look at the overall wage dynamic and recruiting the best talent possible. It is something that we definitely struggle with in this region. And so we definitely rely on benefits. We rely heavily on providing competitive compensation. But, we do struggle as a company in the local region continuing to build that overall organization, just given, as Dave puts it, we all pay a tax to live in Central Oregon, and that is the cost of living. And it's a challenge that we have as we continue to grow. But that said, we continue investing. So, this calendar year, it's fun talking about, we spent $6 million, we were scared shitless. Then we went in and spent $15 million. This calendar year, we have $16 million in capital expenses being spent in Redmond now that we're part of Aon. And so it's a company that's dedicated to investing to build capacity, build the organization. And it's really nice to be able to kind of continue carrying that forward. Anyone that's been in a dynamically growing company recognizes what that really means is you never actually make any money as an owner, because every dollar that you make gets put right back into the company. And so that's one of the struggles growing 50+% a year. We did $108 million last year in revenue. Every dollar that we made year after year went directly back into the company. We never took a bonus, never took anything out of the company, and took very meager salaries for what we were doing in that overall organization, because that's the reality of growing a business that fast. We've had some great banking partners, but again, it doesn't matter if you make money or not. Growing at that rate, it's a risk factor to a bank. It is definitely something that causes pause and creates getting capital is a challenge. But we've been fortunate to have partners along the way that have helped fund us, help get us where we are. We are, devoted to the Central Oregon community. Our goal is to maximize everything we can get out of our facility and continue growing it. It was in the Redmond spokesman this week, but we're about to break ground, another 37,000 square feet just north of our building to keep building out the campus. But beyond that, we're committed to supporting both Dave, myself personally, as well as Aon as an organization, the local community. So one of the things we're helping spearhead and fund within OSU Cascades is a dedicated HVAC engineering program. There's only two programs in the entire U.S. Dave went to one of them at Cal Poly.
Mustangs.
But it's a unique aspect of mechanical engineering, and building talented leaders and engineers in that area is something that our industry needs. And we're very proud to both personally and as a company be able to support getting that off the ground and help build some additional capacity, continue growing OSU Cascades into a great local resource. But it's been a hell of a journey. I think those that have been there early on can attest to the chaos, some debauchery, and irresponsible things in the early years of BASX. It was a fun ride though, and it's really those experiences that we look back on and laugh. And people like our Marianne, our controller, who goes, "Shit, I came here too late. That was all the fun years." It was a great ride to be able to go through all that and kind of get us where we are. But we look forward to continuing to be a big impact in the region and continue to kind of get to know everyone else and help impact and grow the region as a whole. So.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt and Dave. You two are just wonderful. This is great. My first question is, are you hiring?
We are always hiring. So we have about 100 job ads open right now.
100?
Yeah, go see Jeff. Jeff's like,
100. Okay, go talk to Jeff. That sounds like a great thing to be a part of.
And it's across the board. So I mean, it's everything from operations leaders to manufacturing technicians, engineers, accounting staff. Pretty much across the company, there's demand to hire.
Comedians?
We always need a comedian.
Okay.
We try to think we're the comedians. Or at least they tell us we're the comedians. I'm not sure which.
I hear you about the housing challenges. This is like a really real thing, and it's going to take some very creative thinking and people going out on a limb to solve the problem or help solve the problem. And I'm like, you guys might be the two to do it. Have you thought about investing in housing that you could then rent or lease or sell back to your potential employees?
There have been conversations, and this is actually organization-wide across all 4 sites. So we have facilities as part of Aon in Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas, and in Oregon. And it's a problem across all of them. And it's something that we are talking about is how do we provide workforce housing solutions, and how do we, so we're working through some ideas.
Do you need super lightweight trailers?
Well, I was gonna kick an Airbnb. I was more thinking an Airbnb at all the local breweries in the parking lot. Just, here you go for the night.
Trail butter for all of them. Okay, questions from the audience. Any questions for Matt and Dave? Yes.
Dawn, you're a plant.
She's not staged. This is real.
She works for us.
I do, and I love the company, but I'd like to know this amazing story and all the decisions, the hard decisions and the scary decisions that you had to make going back. What is it like when you think back to all the decisions you had to make to get to where you are now? And the second part of that question is, what does it feel like to see what an impact you're having on Redmond and the people in Redmond and providing entry-level jobs to people and opportunities that they normally wouldn't have in Central Work?
Okay, so full disclosure, she is an employee.
I know.
But she says
And
when
she
you're
was reading from paper.
and she was reading from paper. Yes, she has some cash in her pocket. She wants to know, as you reflect back on all of the scary and challenging and wild decisions you made over the years, what does that feel like? And second part of the question is, what does it feel like to look around at the impact that you're having in Redmond, all of the jobs, all of the development that you're offering, and what does that feel like? Great question.
One of the benefits of being older, you don't remember how hard it was. You just remember the good times. It's very exciting to be in the community, have a building right on Highway 97, have the big American flag, and have people call up and thank us for what we're doing and showing our pride of being American. So there's a lot of reward from not only the products that we see going across the country and internationally, as well as wearing our BASX garb into stores and like, oh, you're from BASX. And it's like, they used to say BASX, but we correct them.
Yeah, now listen, never again.
Okay.
Never again, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, looking back, I mean, you know, there were certainly times when we sat there at the kitchen table saying, are we really about to just double down and throw $6 million into this thing we've already put more than $6 million into? But, you know, kind of one of the things that we talk about and we kind of joke about at BASX and AN as a whole is, you know, failure is not really an option. Like, if we sit there and say to ourselves, we're going to give up when these challenges happen, we're never going to make our way through it. And we have had an immense amount of struggles throughout our history at BASX. I mean, nothing definitely was not easy and didn't just fall in our lap. And the team as a whole sat there and was focused on making it happen. And when we sit there and say to ourselves, you know, okay, we have to double down or we walk away, at the time we would have walked away, there was still 150 people that we were walking away from. And from that perspective, you know, our goal from a leadership standpoint is to sit there and keep pushing through that, keep being the positive light going through it, and recognize, yeah, there is light at the end of the tunnel, but we have to just stay in it. We learn all the cliche things, right? You learn from failure. Every time we made these mistakes and we learned from them, we evolved as a company. We grew as a company, and that's what allowed us to get to where we are today. So, you know, again, it's really, from a perspective of that, we weren't going to let the team down. It certainly wasn't easy, and it definitely wasn't the most fun conversations all the time, but it really was that team that was behind us really making it happen that allowed us to get through it. And that is the reason why it's also fantastic to sit there and say, look at the impact we have in Redmond. We never thought the company was going to be this big when we started it, so it's fun to see where it is today.
But it would be fun to see our product on the top of the new airport expansion that Steve was talking about.
I agree.
Buy
I agree.
American.
None of that south of the border stuff.
I agree. Do you ever walk into the office just like, looks like we made it? Nothing like anything like little.
I would be lying if I didn't say that I've actually cried when I walked through the new factory
Yeah,
and it was
of
up and
course.
running, because you think back to those early days. I had a tear.
You cried?
A tear fell. But I mean, you think back to the early days when we bought the Walmart, it was linoleum floor and drop ceiling. And we sat there building product on that. And going from that to seeing an actual true manufacturing company running like it should. You know, it's one of those moments that it's fun to see. And it's fun to see people on the shop floor getting promoted to supervisors that were there day one in our production team. I mean, it's crazy to see
amazing.
that evolution in people through the way.
Yeah, it's truly amazing. Yes.
If you had a magic wand to make your biggest problem disappear, what would that be?
If you had a magic wand to make your biggest problem
Don't say
disappear,
me. Don't.
what would it be?
There is no magic wand. There is no magic wand. You know, Matt said it. It's all determination, hard work, perseverance, and fantastic people surrounding you.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say, I mean, one of the big change, people always talk about culture, but I mean, it is such a big piece that, once we got certain staffing changes made and we got certain people in the seats and really focused on who we are as a company, I will say that was the biggest change in the organization. And so a lot of those struggles and things that we wish we had a magic wand to fix, the inertia of the team and the mindset of the team really takes care of those. It's really, when you focus on the team, you focus on who you are as a company, it does allow you to kind of help alleviate those struggles.
Yes.
There'll be a range, but what do you consider a living wage in this area?
That's a great question.
Hourly or annual basis?
Yeah.
What would you target?
Well, that changed.
So when we're talking about a living wage, hourly salary, there's what are you trying to target? Where are you trying to land on that?
Yeah, and it changes, I think, by the week in Central Oregon right now. In disclosure, right, when we started BASX, a starting wage that was livable in Central Oregon in 2014 was $13 to $14 an hour. Our team could sit there and make money on that. Our base income, I mean, is pretty much $20 an hour for no skills, straight out of high school, 20 an hour, with benefits, with health care, with
Union position?
non-union, yeah. And so that's out of the gate. And, from there, I mean, our average shop wage at this point is just shy of $30 an hour.
Plus benefits.
That's the
And
average wage.
You can go to the website and you can click on the Apply Now button and got you. Yeah. Yes, please do. Yes.
Where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
Where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
Right here, giving an update. Where do you feel like you're going to be 5 years from now, Dave?
Well, hopefully I'll still be working, but maybe a little bit of drinking. I've got the blessing of Parkinson's, so that'll shorten my fuse a little bit, but I'll be cheering these guys on in 5 years till the day I die.
Matt, please don't let Dave get dehydrated.
I will get you a beer, Dave. Don't you worry. He's more of a whiskey kind of guy. I know that.
Well, this has just been such a joy. I do have one more question. So you get the keys to the Walmart building. You walk in. It's linoleum floors. You get the floors. You got the drop ceiling.
And
But
comments.
did they leave any merchandise behind, like old pool noodles, old Easter candy, maybe some 50-cent decks of cards? Like, what was there anything weird in there?
I can tell you that the things that were left behind are not appropriate to talk about here.
Ew.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much. Actually, before you go, I do have, this is our tradition, EDCO PubTalk. I'm going to give them both. Okay, so you can bring this back to a future PubTalk. We will fill it with your choice of flavors of trail butter. I'm just kidding. We'll fill it with beer, wine, whiskey, whatever you want. Thank you so much. This has
All right.
just been wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah.